Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I have a question for everybody. You ever find yourself just not having enough time in the day to get things done? You just try, Post-it notes all over the place. I'm not kidding about this, but today I was going to go to Staples and buy a whiteboard and put it up on the wall and start writing stuff down because the Post-it notes aren't working. I have like 5 different apps I put things in. I still have a stack of things that need to get done. We're going to talk about that today and help you get stuff done. And that's courtesy of your life coach. He is Tom Marino. Hey, Tom, welcome back.
Hey, Steve, thank you for having me back. How's everything going?
It's good. The one thing that I did remember to do was to hook up with you today. So that
there you go. You got something done today, right? It's all about getting stuff done. And that's the thing that, I've been spending a lot of time. People are struggling to get stuff done. People are overwhelmed and distracted, and they become so overwhelmed that they lose the clarity on what actually needs to get done. So, that's what we'll definitely talk about. We're going to talk about 10 steps to getting it done. I'll leave the expletive out, but you can check it out on my LinkedIn page. Find Tom Marino on LinkedIn, and you can see the post from today actually, and we could talk a little bit more about that.
I find myself forgetting things too, and fortunately I'm busy, so that's good. There's a lot going on, but it drives me crazy when I get an email. Hey, are you going to send that over? I'm like, that was like 4 days ago, and sure, how did I forget about that? And all the methods that I'm using, they're not working. So let's lay it down, the 10 steps to getting stuff done.
All right. So 10 steps. So the first one let's talk about is stop seeking perfection and focus on progress. Make progress, right? A lot of people get distracted by their need for perfection and to get things perfectly done, because if it can't be done perfectly, it shouldn't be done at all. And perfection is actually the enemy of progress, right? Perfectionism is always in the way of us getting something done that we know we need to get done, right? I remember when I was working, I had a boss, and she had asked me for this Excel spreadsheet, and I like to organize my Excel spreadsheets in a certain way. They need to be perfect. They need to have these different things. And I was focused on the perfectionism. And she said, is this spreadsheet ready yet? And I said, yeah, it'll be ready by the end of today. I just need to make a few tweaks. And she said to me, Tom, is it good enough? Is it good enough? And I said, yeah, it's good enough. It's not perfect. It's good enough. Sometimes we have to be good with good enough. Sometimes we have to be so focused on it's good enough. We don't need to get to that perfect state because that doesn't exist.
But think about this for a second. Her good enough is perfection potentially. So
correct.
We'll just do it.
Exactly. It's like, because perfection is in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yep.
What we see as perfect is subjective. It's completely subjective. So if you are focused on your own perfectionism, it's better just to see it as good enough, hand it off. And if it needs to be changed, then you come back and you change it, right?
Yeah.
But it's better to just mark it done, get it moving on, getting to where you need to be, and not be so focused on the perfection pieces. Perfectionism.
I believe and admit, and I'm afraid to admit this, but I'll put off sending emails because I want to think about them and make them worded just right when I should just.
Right. Well, that goes with anything. We it's so easy to change things today, right? I mean, it's not the day of the typewriter where you got to pull out a paper and you got to get the white out and you're typing, right? And you got to redo it. Like we have so many things right at our fingertips that we forget that if something is not perfect or our standard of perfection, that it could be easily changed. And we need to really focus on that anything could be changed. It could be updated. Like I did a post and somebody said, you should really do this as a carousel. And I said, okay, I pulled it down and I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it because that was good feedback and good insight and will make it better for people who are reading it. And I want people to read it, right? So I thought it was perfect the way I did it, but somebody had a different perspective and I was willing to say, okay, I could change that. So that to me is still making progress, right? I took another step closer to getting my ultimate goal achieved, which is to make sure people are reading that post, that they're digesting it. So if you are focused on perfection, you're not always open to changing things. You think it's perfect. You can become stubborn, right? And those things all start to get in your way of getting the stuff done that you need to get done.
Yep.
So that's number one. Stop trying to be perfect.
Gotcha.
A lot of people will procrastinate when they want to be perfect, right? You procrastinate on a lot of things because if you don't see it being done right, why do it at all? So the next step, the next thing in my 10 things is procrastinate on things that have no consequences, right? Put off the things that have no consequences and only focus on the things that have consequences, right? So what are your must-dos for today? What must you absolutely get done? Do not procrastinate on that. Get it done. Watching TV, scrolling through social media, making a phone call to somebody you haven't spoken to in a while. If you have other things that are priorities that have much more dire consequence, procrastinate on the TV watching, procrastinate on the social media, procrastinate on that other stuff, because you can redirect your procrastination, right? We all procrastinate on something, but in the newer perspective is it's procrastinating on that thing that doesn't have a consequence.
Gotcha.
Put off that thing and focus on the thing that's really important to you. So that's step number 2. Number 3, set boundaries and expectations, right? We talked about this last week about the importance of setting boundaries and having clear expectations. When you're trying to work on something, if you don't have good expectations, if you don't have clear expectations of what you need to get done, what other people need to respect that you're working on and getting it done, you're not going to get it done. If you don't set up that boundary or that time block to get that work done, it's not going to get done.
It's so true. And you have to set the expectations for yourself of not being a perfectionist. Back to number
Correct. Right. Going right back to number 1.
Yeah.
And those boundaries, expectations are, don't be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. Is it good enough? That's a good boundary, right? 2 is procrastinate on other stuff, right?
Yep.
That's the other important boundary. And then 3 is saying yes to things that you should be saying yes to, right? That's a really important boundary to set up for yourself, is learn how to say no better. Because one of the things that stops people from getting things done, they're working on things that they should not have said yes to, right? Things that they should have said no to. So eliminate a lot of those distractions, which is the 4th step thing in my 10 steps, is get rid of those distractions, right? So don't get distracted by people. Don't get distracted by having multiple computer screens open at one time, right? When you're working on email, work on email. When you're working on writing a document, only have that document open. When you're working on a spreadsheet, only have that spreadsheet open. When you're having a call with someone, only have that screen open, so that you're not distracted from the other things, or you can't get done what you need to get done. And that's really important, because distractions is what leads to further procrastination, right? When we get distractions, oh, something more fun pops up, let me do that, right? That only causes more procrastination to take place.
It's amazing how all of these are intertwined and how they're all connected to each other.
Right.
I do just what you're saying. I am more now than ever being busier now. I find myself being distracted. And then every once in a while, it's like overload, Spotify. Let me find a song I want. And I don't think that's a bad thing to have music in the background. It kind of motivates you, moves you along, but.
Right. And how distracted are we? Right? How many times do you go to your phone to go to an app and you forget which app you wanted to go to, or what thing you were going to just look up, right? Because the distraction is just constant distraction, right? We don't have long attention spans with the amount of stuff that's coming at us all of the time. The amount of information, the amount of different apps, the different technologies, all of that stuff is reducing our attention span. So eliminating distractions as best as possible is going to help you to get more done. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
And let's even add to that, when you're working, don't text unless it's important, because all during the day, here we go. Let's start. You know what? Let me just reply. And it's just not. It's just killing. You don't realize how much time, and it's not even about the time, right, Tom? It's about the distraction and the refocus. So you just took that second. The train got off the tracks of what you were doing, and you get the train back on the tracks.
Right. And you change your focus and you lose your focus much more easily. That's why I say, when you're working on something, hide your phone somewhere, throw it in a drawer, Don't look at it.
Right.
Don't have it in front of you, because if it's there, it only becomes this massive distractor. I mean, how many times are you sitting in a meeting with people, like everybody is on their phones, like meetings, I remember a boss saying to me, put your phones away. We're here, we're focused on each other. It
Right.
doesn't matter what's happening there. If there's hella high water, they'll figure it out, right? But that's the thing that we forget to do is to eliminate those simple distractions. We are glued to our phones. We all have phone addiction, right? Every minute we're on the phone. Every minute that we have free from the computer, what do? We go on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
Every minute that we stop watching television, we go to our phone. We're phone addicts. And it really is a big distraction. And if you can I tell people to take weekend breaks, like have phone breaks, like just go and put your stuff away. Just spend time away from that, whether it's an hour or it's 8 hours. Take that break. Sometimes we need that. We need that for clarity. We need to get out of that, because that only pervades this idea of the busy badge, right? That we're busy. We have all these things to respond to. And busy, I'm eliminating busy from my vocabulary, Steve. I am no longer busy. I am productive. Yeah. I am productive. I am focused on making progress and being more productive. And the more I can eliminate that busy word from my vocabulary, the better I feel. I don't feel as negative and less overwhelmed. That's the best part about it, is when we say we're productive versus saying we're busy. Don't you feel different? Don't you get a different sense?
Without a doubt. And the image of busy, even when you think back to maybe a cartoon analogy, is like, doesn't mean you're being productive. Right?
Exactly. Busy is not productive. And that's another step in the process, and in this getting things done, is make sure that you do one thing at a time. I did a post earlier this week that only 2% of people can multitask. That means the other 98% of us can't.
And they've done research where it's been proven that women can multitask better than men.
Correct. And multitasking is not good. Multitasking only leads to more open items. It only leads to more stress. It leads to more anxiety and more overwhelm, and it promotes that busy badge even further. If you do one thing at a time, you will be more productive. You will get more stuff done, right? Spend 30 minutes completely focused on the one thing you're doing. You will feel like you accomplished something that took 8 hours to do previously with all your multitasking. We've got to focus on getting one thing done at a time. We try to do too many things at once. It leaves the can wide open, and it really only makes us all have attention deficit, right? I mean, we talk about, I talk to people all the time. We're like, oh, I have attention deficit. I have attention deficit. Everybody has a form of attention deficit because we're distracted. And our attention is constantly being pulled at other places. Push notifications on your phone. Those are dangerous. Turn those all off.
Sure.
Push notifications are just a distraction that you keep setting up for yourself. So if you're going to get stuff done, you don't need that distraction.
I don't even know that Quick Check has sandwiches at 10% off today.
Exactly. Right. Do I really need to know right now that so-and-so died? When CNN announces that so-and-so died, and do I need to know that? Do I need that alert? Really? Is that really important news for what I'm doing? Right? This is what I'm talking about. We get distracted easily, but if you're focusing on one thing at a time, you're going to be much more productive and get stuff done. Right? The other thing is the goals that we set. We need to make very specific goals. I always subscribe to the SMART model: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, right? That's the SMART acronym. And the more specific a goal, the less likely you are to procrastinate on it. A lot of people make very vague goals, right? New Year's resolutions are vague goals. I want to lose weight. Okay, great. That's so vague. That's not motivating. I want to lose 20 pounds in the next 30 days. Well, that's a much different, more concrete, much more specific goal, right? But when we don't have specific goals, we procrastinate. So evaluate how specific your goals are. Evaluate how much you are focused on what the outcome is going to be for you, right? So when does it have to happen by? How are you going to know it happened? How specific was it to start? And then the other thing to follow up to the setting the specific goal is create a plan, right? Because if you fail to plan, what happens? You plan to fail, right? And we have to have a plan. We have to have action steps that we are going to work toward. That's your to-do list every day. Your to-do list should always be based on what your goal is. If you're not doing what the action steps to getting to your goal, you're not going to achieve that goal.
You know, it's interesting as you present that, you think about it, your plan, make a plan as if somebody else was going to do it. You're doing it, but then it's going to be more detailed and you're more focused on it.
Exactly. That is a great point. I love that. That is an excellent point. If you make a plan, ask yourself that question. Can somebody else carry this out? And if they can't carry it out, that means it's not specific enough. I love that. I love that. Steve, see, you're coaching me here. Look at that.
And you know what? It might sound kind of detail oriented, but I think it'll make you focus more. Oh, wait a minute. I got five steps to whatever this task is.
Right.
Number 4, I got to focus on that, and I'm going to put everything out of the way.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes, but you know what? Now I have to get the whiteboard that I mentioned before to put that
right.
Plan that out.
Right. And that's the key, is making a really good, solid, detailed plan. The more detailed action, like I always love when people say, I want to exercise 3 days a week. I always ask the question, well, how many days a week do you exercise now? And I go, oh, I exercise 1 day a week. Okay, is 3 days realistic right off the bat? Why don't we just increase to 2? Start small, right? My favorite is I want to work out 3 days a week. Do you exercise now? No. I've never been to the gym. I have no idea. Like, okay, is that realistic right now? No. So what's an action step that you can take towards getting there? Well, let's start simple. Do you have workout clothes? Do you have something to work out in, right? That's a very specific detail. It's something we take for granted, right? Oh, if I'm going to go to the gym, I'll change into workout clothes. But do you have workout clothes? Do you have sneakers? Do you have what you need? Do you have the right equipment to get you started to working out 3 days a week? Because if you've never worked out and you've never gone to the gym 3 days a week, how are you going to get there if you don't have the workout clothes, right? That's the thing. Like it's a very specific detail. But if I want to work out 3 days a week, which is a very specific goal, right? I have to have a very specific detail to support that goal, especially if I've never done that before.
And that's like set aside the time. When are you planning to go?
Right, exactly. That's the next question is what 3 days would work best for you, right? What are going to be the best optimal times for you to go, right? So those are the action steps, is making the plan, reinforcing the plan, being specific in the plan. When are you going to go to the gym? Is Monday, Wednesday, Friday realistic, or is it really the weekend that's realistic? And then how do you incorporate a day during the week so that you can get your 3 days in, Saturday, Sunday, and which day of the week is going to work best for you? What's the day you come home earliest from your job? What's the day you have more availability, right? It's getting to those details and making those plans so that they're achievable. But if you don't break it down that way, what happens?
Yep. Doesn't get done.
Doesn't get done. Doesn't get done. But that's with anything. It's like cooking, right? If you don't follow the specific recipe, if you don't do things in the order of the recipe, or you don't put the right ingredients into that recipe, it doesn't taste good. It's the same thing. We've got to think of every goal we set, there has to be a recipe and there has to be key ingredients for that goal. And if you're not thinking that specifically, you're going to have a very difficult time getting that stuff done. So that's really important.
We're doing the 10 steps to getting stuff done, and we're with life coach Tom Marino. You can check him out at monarchlifecoaching.com. What are we up to now? I lost track. 5, 6, where are we at?
We're actually at 8.
Where are we?
Actually,
okay.
We're flying through these, Steve.
Wow.
We're flying through them. So the 8th one is get out of your own way. It's not about you. How many times do we go to get something done and I go, I can't do this. I'm not qualified to do this. I'm an imposter. I'm not going to be able to do this. Get out of your own way. Stop being your own limiting belief, right? The beliefs that we have about ourselves and some of our abilities and capabilities will stop us from getting things done, right? Because it's another form of procrastination. It's another thing that, it's a way of thinking that gets in our way. It's not always about you. If your colleagues are doing something, people are working on something, and they didn't include you in it, or they didn't ask for your opinion on it, just stay focused on the work and not worry about what they said or didn't say, or it's not about you. It's not your issue. Focus on the things that are your issues, the things that you need to get done. Focus on it being about something outside of you, because that becomes a distraction. The emotions that are involved, right? You get assigned something from your boss, from your spouse, your honey-do list, whatever. There's always something you don't want to do, right? And you get emotional about not wanting to do that thing. But if you can separate the emotion from it and recognize that it's not about you, you're going to get it done much faster than fighting it and being resistant to it, right? Resistance is that getting you out of your own way that I'm really talking about. It's getting past the resistance to doing something, right? That may be unpleasant, that may not be the funnest thing to do. But if you think about it in the context of it's not about me, it's just about the task, you're going to get it done faster.
Yep. And what you said before, Tom, imposter syndrome.
Yes.
People nowadays suffer from it, meaning that they don't feel that they can do the job. They're kind of like fudging it along. I feel that if you were given the opportunity to do something, you probably can do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be given that opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's what you have to see. Sometimes when you get an assignment from someone that you've never done before, you have to look at it. It's an opportunity to learn. Yes. And they're just testing to see what you're capable of. So don't hem and haw all the way through it. See it as an opportunity to grow. See it as an opportunity to learn. And when you're not sure, ask questions, right? We don't have to do it all ourselves. It's not about us, right? It's not just about us. It's about asking the questions and learning and taking on a different part of the process.
Well, it's almost as if somebody asked you, Tom, we need somebody at 3 p.m. today to do open heart surgery. What do you think? Nobody's going to ask you to do that because they know your capabilities. So maybe they're going to ask you, hey, how can I get stuff done during the day? You're a life coach. Tell me. It's in your wheelhouse, because people know, and they're not going to give you that responsibility or that opportunity unless you probably can do it. You can probably.
Correct. Absolutely. So that's really important is recognizing that you have limitations, but don't let your self limitations get in the way of getting stuff done. Push the envelope, try something, do something different. The 9th thing is make time to exercise, rest, and have fun.
Yeah.
Right. You have to focus on self-care. You need those moments to be able to have clarity. If you don't go and have fun, like last night was St. Patrick's Day, right? I would have seen clients like any other Thursday night, but friends of ours decided to have a party. So we went, right? That was more important because now I'm set for today. I'm clear today. I can see what I need to do for the day, and I can attack it with a different energy, with a different vigor, because I took time to have fun last night.
Your friends.
And to be social and be with my friends, right? That's what it's about, is taking the time to rest. I didn't exercise this morning because I already exercised 3 days this week. Tomorrow is my exercise day again. I'm making time for that. I will attack it. I will do it. But I went for the walk. I took my dog for a walk, right? So I still was active, right? And I enjoy myself. And it gives me time to think when I do those kinds of things. And that's what I love about exercise is it's productive. It's mind, body, and soul, right? It works for everything. You get clarity all around. And that's what's really important.
I'll bet you that you probably come up with some of your best ideas while you were just walking.
Oh, absolutely. That's where this post came from. That's where these 10 things came from. I was thinking about it. I was like, I have a clear space to think. And the last thing is stop overthinking. Just do it. Don't overthink it. John Acuff wrote in his book, Soundtracks, overthinking is when what you think gets in the way of what you want. It's the first line of chapter 1 of that book. Overthinking is when what you think gets in the way of what you want. If you want to do something, if you want to go after it and you want to get it done, stop overthinking. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to work out the first time around. Take the action step and just do it. Just do it. And that's so easily said, but you know how hard that is for so many people. They say, yeah, I'm overthinking it. You're right. I'm overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. Just do it. Just go and do it. Whatever comes out, and you'll deal with the consequences of it. But if you don't do that, you may never have consequences to try to figure it out. You may never learn because you just held yourself back from not doing it. So just go out and do it. Stop overthinking. Those are your 10 steps to get things done.
Perfect timing, because we're just about out of time. And then
Awesome.
every single one. Now go back to step number 1, rinse and repeat. And don't.
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Tell everybody what you do. You're a life coach.
I'm a life coach, success strategy coach. I really work on helping people to bridge the gaps between their personal and professional lives. You can reach out to me at tommarino.com. I have a ton of information out there. Read plenty of helpful tips. My website is full of stuff. You can follow me on Instagram at Tom Marino Coaching. Just let me know if you need help. I'm here to help you. I want to hear from you. I want to DM me overthinking on Instagram today, and we can talk about what you're overthinking and hold you accountable. If you want accountability, I'm your guy to help you move forward and hold you accountable so that you can achieve the goals that you want.
I love it. And I'm thinking right now about overthinking, all the things I overthink. And I don't want to say I hate myself for doing it, because we all do it, but it's just, it's almost like you just got to groom yourself. It's the habits of changing what you do. Tom, always great talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Same here, Steve. I appreciate the time, and it was good to see you again.
You too. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.